Tuned in to another episode of the Talk About It podcast. I'm Lauren Fulmer.
I'm Victor Dantas.
And today we got Mark Thomas with us. Mark, what's going on, man?
Oh, not a whole lot.
Yeah?
Appreciate you having me.
Yeah, you excited to do this?
Finally, yes. After
Good.
like 4 reschedules.
Well, when you work in the industry where people pass away, that's very unexpected most of the time.
That's a fact.
If not all the time. But yeah, so we'd have one scheduled, and then unfortunately someone would pass and need your services.
That's right.
So, but here we are.
Here we are today, finally.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Good having you here.
It's good to be here.
Well, there's probably some folks tuned in that may not know who the heck Mark Thomas is. So why don't you just give us a little bit of a bio or a rundown or whatever the heck you want us to, whatever your selling points are.
My selling points, my elevator speech, if you will. So Mark Thomas, born and raised, Galesburg, Illinois. Took off, went to college, went straight into mortuary science right out of high school, went to college, started working in a funeral home at 20 years old, and been working in one ever since. So, yeah, rocking on 28 years.
So that's something interesting. I kind of had, I know that you have Watson Thomas Funeral Home and Crematory, but something I was curious about, and you kind of answered part of it. So you went right from high school. You said, I know this is what I'm doing. You know where I'm going.
Well, my dad said you had to figure out something to do with the rest of your life, and I'm like, this seems as good as anything. So I didn't really know. A friend of mine was kind of interested in funeral service, and so I just was kind of tagging along with him.
And did your friend go on and do it?
Nope.
What did you do back then when you were 20 at a funeral home?
What I do at a funeral home?
Yes, like what was your work there?
I was mostly an embalmer back then. Yeah. Embalm dead bodies, get them ready for visitations and funerals.
So what is that process like? Is it like the body gets submerged in this embalming fluid, or do you like paint it on with a brush?
Yeah,
what do
none
you
of
do?
the above. Yes.
Huh? That's what I mean. So what's that like?
So yeah, it's if you will, like a surgical procedure. You raise one artery and one vein typically to start with, and there's an embalming machine that kind of takes place and acts like the heart, if you will. It pumps the embalming fluid through the body. And then about, some of the blood, not all of it, half of it maybe or so, is actually drained out and just replaced with embalming fluid.
I didn't know that.
I didn't know it went inside the body.
Yeah.
You
That's
put some type of, what's the name? The
embalming fluid, formaldehyde, yeah.
So you just put it inside of the body?
Yeah. It goes in through like a vein.
IV?
Well, similar, but yeah,
Sure.
So embalming, you actually inject through a vessel or an artery instead of like IVs that go into a vein. So, so the artery is what carries fresh blood supply throughout your body. And then as your body uses it, it goes back in through the lungs and through the heart, through the venous system, which the body's used all the oxygen out of it, so it has to continue to pump through and reuse it. So we inject embalming fluid in through the arteries and it drains out through the veins.
So you say you got like a pump, because obviously the
it's like
person,
a big tank, yeah.
Right, but the person's passed away, so their internal pump is done.
It is done, so there's basically an external one that...
Dang, I never knew that.
Do you do that to every single person?
No, only if they request it or if the family wants to have some sort of service.
Okay.
So if you're doing an open casket funeral or something like that, you're definitely going to do the embalming.
Yes.
Right?
Yep.
And now if you're going to...
No law. Yep, no law.
There's no law you don't have to do it?
There's no law that you have to be embalmed.
Okay.
Correct.
But then if you do a cremation, you probably have no purpose to do that.
Depends. If they have services before they're cremated, then you would be embalmed, yes.
Okay.
Yep.
How was, just call a lot of people are uncomfortable with not only death, but dead bodies.
Yeah.
So when I was growing up, my mom had a second-time job. She worked at the bank during the day, and then at night she would answer the phones for this funeral home in Pontiac, Illinois.
No kidding.
Duffy's.
Oh yeah, I know Duffy's
Funeral Home. Yeah. And so we as kids, we would spend many of these evenings at this funeral home. Mm-hmm. And the Duffys had a son the same age as my brother, so I was running around with 2 older guys, and who knew I was scared. I didn't want. Don't leave me alone in here. Where y'all going? Did not want to be left alone. I was a small child, man, and there's dead bodies over there, so don't leave me alone. And man, they would mess with me.
Sure.
All the time.
Absolutely.
What was your very first, like, you're on your own. Someone has now passed away. This is your job today to take care of them. Like, how was that?
I don't really remember my very first, like, on my own embalming. I can really remember my first actual, like, death call I went on when I was working in a funeral home, because when you're in school, you're working on cadavers. Mm-hmm. So, somebody that's been dead for a time and, they're cold and there's not a lot of personal interaction. But it was one of the guys that worked at the funeral home. It was his uncle. And so we go to the hospital and get the guy. And the first thing I recall is reaching over to grab him, to move him over, and that he was still warm. So it was a bit weird, like, because I had because we were only used to the cadavers. So
right. So you've been messing with these, and then here's someone. This is like a recent experience, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So I mean, it was weird from the standpoint of there was a connection with that person.
Right.
Because it was the guy I was with. It was his uncle, and it was like the first actual, like, warm person, if you will, that I had touched. So yeah, like, that's ingrained. That's 28 years ago. That was the summer of June of 1994. So yeah. So
you've been doing this for 28 years?
Yeah.
In those 28 years, have you ever had? Is this a myth or what? Do bodies randomly just sit up?
Oh, absolutely.
They can do that?
Oh, no. I thought you said, do people ask it? No, they can't sit up. No.
Okay. I thought you said, have you had that? You said,
oh, no. I thought you meant have people, like, ask you and be like, oh, I've seen a body sit up. And
no.
Yeah, no.
So they're done.
It's impossible, yeah.
Have you ever seen anything weird happening with a dead body?
Well, it's like a lot of things. I guess it depends what you call weird. So like, the only real weird thing is, they say, oh, people move after they die.
Yes.
That's not the case. Somebody younger, more muscular, sometimes when they die, when you embalm them, they will, like, you might get a little twitch or something like that from a finger just because of strong muscle mass.
Yes.
And they're just a reaction with the embalming fluid firming up the muscles. You might get a little bit of movement, but you don't get like a rah kind of.
Right.
There's no zombies. But the joke always is, just in case, we tie everybody's shoelaces together, just in case. No, just kidding.
Yeah.
Just kidding.
Look at Victor.
Just kidding.
Said, what? It's just a joke.
It's a joke.
You get it?
Yeah.
All right. Yeah.
In case for the zombie apocalypse, everybody will trip because their shoelaces are tied together.
Now, another joke I've heard, and maybe there's some truth to this too, but being a funeral home director, people come to you dead, and they don't need the stuff they have. So, for example, I hear you get free shoes all the time.
Yes.
Many different sizes.
Yeah.
Free shoes.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I
start a secondhand store. No,
yeah.
just kidding. Again.
No. But that's
people
crazy.
that don't know me be like, is this guy telling the truth? Anybody that knows me knows I've got a bit of an odd sense of humor.
But it takes, just call it what it is. It does take a different type of person.
Yeah.
I wouldn't use the word odd because out of respect for you. And
we're all odd in our own ways.
We are all odd. But it takes like a special breed for someone not only to be able to work on a deceased body, but also you have a business to do, you have a job to do, and then you also, not only that, you have families that are coming to you for some sort of compassion, level of expectation for this celebration of life or service that's being put together.
Yeah. A true funeral director, in all seriousness, I always say is really more of a calling. Like, I have no connection to funeral service whatsoever. How did I end up in it? A buddy of mine was interested, and I went along with him because he was my best friend, and we did everything together. And he's like, hey, I'm kind of interested in this. Let's go shoot the breeze with this funeral director on Friday night. He's at work. Let's go hang out at the funeral home. I'm like, okay, whatever. It didn't bother me. I grew up hunting and that kind of stuff, so death and those kind of things didn't bother me. But, to the fact that 28 years later, like, I followed through with it and became a funeral director, and he chose to go a different direction in life. Like, it's clearly there's some sort of calling calling there. I mean, you're a part-time minister, you're a part-time counselor, you're a part-time restorative artist, you know, in the embalming procedure to try to make somebody look natural again. You're a business owner, you know, I mean,
you're
at the end of the day, you're a manager, you're
yeah.
a salesman, you know, because people are buying a product from you, and you know, you have to sell them stuff. It doesn't mean that that's really what we do, but we are selling them things, so we are a salesman. And I mean, there's just I'm a part-time janitor, you know. We don't anymore, but you know, we don't mow our own yard, but we clean our own sidewalks, we scrub our own toilets, we wash our own cars. So, you know, I mean, we kind of do a little bit of everything. And
so now, you know, you mentioned the embalming process. Yeah. What is it after that? You know, this is my grandma, for example, sure. Right? Like someone did her makeup. Yeah. Someone like did,
it's typically us.
Okay, you at one point. Now I know you you have a staff, but at one point,
I mean, I still do it sometimes. But you're
putting lipstick and some eyeliner and hooking them up.
Yep.
That's interesting.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
So you guys have people there that only takes care of the makeup part?
At larger funeral homes, you'll have people that's kind of their main job is. We kind of call it the back room, the embalming room. They're kind of on the preparation side of things. Smaller funeral homes, usually everybody does a little bit of everything. You know, one of our staff members, she mostly spends time back there. One of them kind of splits it, and then I'm back there very little. So,
but for 28 years, I mean, at one point you were back there.
I mean, once upon a time, that was my main gig.
So usually the makeup, will the family tell you the type of makeup that
they'll bring a picture. Likes? If it's a lady, I'm like, hey, bring her makeup bag in.
Right.
So there you go. You know, now they do have mortuary cosmetics, and depending on who you talk to, that you know, mortuary cosmetics are made different because our skin changes when we die, and I won't get into all the science of that, but. If grandma's got particular blush and lipstick particularly, or an eyeliner, or, you know, you get, or I think, oh gosh, what the heck was her name? You get somebody that wore their makeup like, what's her name from the Drew Carey show?
Oh,
you know,
yeah.
Whatever I can't remember what her name was, but, you know, obviously I'm going to want that blue eyeshadow because that's what she always wore. So we want to make sure that they have whatever was specific for them. So,
yeah.
So,
and not only that, you know, I don't know in Brazil either, but here too, people now are bringing pets, right? Like people bring their dogs or
when
cats.
they're alive or dead?
No, I'm talking about to you.
Okay, well, well, in all seriousness, like I asked because yes, we have a pet crematory, so we do offer pet cremation, but we also strongly encourage people that if to bring their pet in and smell their loved one deceased in a casket. Like we're very pet friendly.
Sure. But you meant to the service. Right,
yeah, usually privately they'll bring him in. They don't usually bring him to the funeral, but they'll bring him in for a private viewing. And
I was meaning more. You've added that now. Service.
Yes, we've added that service. Yes, we offer pet cremation too. Sorry.
How many of those a year you think you do?
About 500.
500 pets?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Do you have caskets for pets as well?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But typically we only cremate pets. So
typically,
we've got a pet crematory. Yeah, I haven't really got into doing the burial side. They don't need a funeral director for that. They can.
You just need a Nike box.
Yeah.
Or something, right?
Yeah.
And
he said 500?
Yeah, 500. Yeah.
That's crazy.
A year,
yeah.
Man. But that's a huge.
That's more than a pet a day.
That is more than a pet a day. It's good math.
That's a lot. It's a high demand.
Yeah.
For the,
yeah.
What about the cost? Does it cost
inexpensive.
A lot? No. Okay.
Yeah. Most pets are, most pets are under $100 to cremate.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yep.
What do you think most people do with the pet's ashes? Do you think they keep them or they go sprinkling?
A lot of them keep them. What we're seeing now is, we just kind of did this when my dad died. They had a cat that was cremated. Actually, when it died, we buried it, and then they moved from A place to B place. So my dad dug the cat. My dad was a cop, so he was a bit odd too. So he he disinterred the cat, moved it to place B. And this is down at our house is down in Aquaca on the river, And then when they moved from place B to place C, we had put in our crematory, and Dad's like, instead of digging her up and moving her again, would you cremate her? So he dug her up, cremated her. They kept her at home. When he died, we buried the cat with him. And my parents also had a dog that died a few years ago, and we cremated her. And Mom said, when I die, I want the dog to go with me. So we're starting to see a lot of people that, a lot of owners, when they die, they have their pets be buried with them, or if they were cremated, we'll mix the pet in with their cremated remains if they want.
I mean, it's about whatever someone's willing to within, obviously, the law.
Our rule's always kind of been, if it's not unethical, illegal, or immoral, we'll do it.
Right.
So,
right.
Or impossible. So yeah, that's
have you had any crazy thing, like a crazy request from a family?
Again, it's all perspective,
There's
man.
a lot of
I'm
crazy
sure
things.
You get something crazy probably monthly, or I shouldn't say crazy, but maybe something a little untraditional. or
Unique
different.
requests.
Interesting. Unique
Yes.
request.
Yes,
Yes.
that's what we like to call that.
That's a unique request.
That is a unique
I like how
request.
you word that. I'm gonna steal that.
Yeah, it's
I'm like,
fine.
that's a unique request.
That is unique. Weird.
But yeah,
It's
so
unique.
what would be a rather unique request that someone?
I had a family one time that I will say it's unique because, again, it's not wrong. It's just non-traditional.
Yes.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Typically, bodies are displayed on their back with their hands crossed, right?
Yes.
That's kind of this gentleman pretty much spent most of his life. He had a cerebral palsy, if I remember right. I think what it was. So spent most of his life. His most comfortable position was laying on his stomach with his head kind of turned like this, so he could see from his bedroom out into the living room where everybody was at.
Sure.
And when he died, they asked, when I went to the house, they gave me a picture. They said, can you make him look like that in the casket? I'm like, sure. Well, I had never done anything like, I mean,
Right.
that's, again, totally untraditional how you would normally embalm and prepare a body. But yeah, so I mean, that was obviously a pretty unique situation. Yeah. So yeah, we were able to make that happen for him, and they were happy, and yeah.
Once you embalm the body, is it pretty set in place? It's like stiff.
Yeah.
That's what makes it stiff.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, the chemical reaction, the
Yeah.
science behind the embalming disinfects and preserves.
What
the
would
body.
this embalming fluid, if it were to get on your regular skin, like nothing?
Most
No,
of it, nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's some of it that has like a skull and crossbones on it. Those I don't really, I mean, actually does. I don't really recommend putting that on your skin, but
Right.
I've gotten it on my skin before, and
So this is something I came across. I'll be curious if you've heard of this, Victor. And I'm assuming just because your industry, you've at least heard of it. But there's these trees.
oh yes, the
that
pods.
you
Yes.
can put. It's like a big cloth bag.
It's like a
where
giant egg.
Yeah, that the root of the tree goes down, but they put the person's body in the bag, like kind of
Yeah.
almost folded, right?
Yeah,
I've
it's
seen
back
it,
into a fetal position.
and they
Yeah.
tie it, and they
The actual body?
Yeah,
Yes. So
they
they-
put that under the tree, and then
they plant the tree.
then they plant the tree on top of the body,
So
and the tree
this
uses
tree
the
is you.
nutrients
yeah.
and absorbs your body.
So then, and now the family has this tree that you could put on like a family farm,
Yeah.
or, you know, this is maybe more opinion based, but 50 to 100 years from now, I really wonder how relevant actual cemeteries will be. You know, like I grew up with my grandfather. We would go, or even Dean. You know, like
Yeah.
it was very common to go out to the cemetery and kind of pay your respects and maybe,
Right.
you know, just check and pull some weeds and put some flowers out. Like I said, probably opinion based here, but I wonder how much longer down the road those will be.
There'll always be some.
Sure. But
mean-
what I thought with those pods, how cool is it? You could go to said forest, and probably for as long as you're living, that tree is going to be there.
Right.
And that with your father or whoever's kind of ash or growth, whatever, how, I don't know. And so that was so weird to me, though, when I started Googling it, because I thought someone was messing with me.
Right.
But no, it's very real. And honestly, I kind of think it's a pretty cool idea, too.
Yeah.
Until there's a windstorm or something kills the tree, and then
I didn't think of that.
Yeah, that's always been like, okay, so this used to be Grandpa's tree. Now it's a stub. Now we've turned it into yard art.
Then you need to cremate the tree and make another.
Or what do they do? Like I've always thought, like, okay, they plant this tree and somebody doesn't know it, and it's 100 years down the road, and so that they didn't cremate the person per se. Maybe it wasn't one of these pods, and they come along, they cut the tree down, and they use one of those stump grinders, and then all of a sudden they like start flinging bones out of the ground.
Right.
Like, so I mean, there's things that, like, obviously we're not going to think about because we're gone. But, like, again, just because of what I do, I think, like, well, what about 100 years from now?
Right. Who's keeping up or going to...
Yeah,
how
who's
do you
going to
know?
I mean, who's going to remember that Grandpa's buried under that tree and we can't use the giant stump grinder thing to...
I know. We'd be like, wait, I think it was this tree. No, I don't know.
Wait,
It's that tree.
yeah, right. That's...
I don't know. But yeah, I could see where that could get a little squirrely.
Yeah.
Do you see the industry evolving, like something?
It's evolved huge in the 28 years since I've been in it. I mean, 28 years ago, we cremated maybe 20% of the people. Now we cremate about 60% of people.
What do you think that made that change? People wanting to cremate more?
It's a multitude of things. One, originally it was cost, just because it's a less expensive option. So cost transitioned into acceptance. Acceptance transitions into more people doing it because it's more widely accepted. People are a lot more nomadic than they used to be. I mean, it used to be you were born and raised, and heck, you might live with your grandparents and your aunts and uncles. Families all stayed right together. So funerals were important. People weren't all over the United States. Now you get people going, well, he's here and she's there and they're here, and we can't all get back together to have a funeral for a month. So they'll choose cremation and then have a funeral a month later when they can all plan it. When people couldn't travel like they do now, people didn't move far away typically, and if they did, they just didn't make it back for a funeral. So that's part of it. Religion has embraced it more. The Catholic religion particularly. It used to be totally against Catholicism to be cremated. Now that they accept it, of course, that's brought on a whole nother section of people that wouldn't have used to have been cremated have decided that they want to be cremated. So there's multiple different things.
Do you think is there technology infused in funeral homes? Like, do you guys use a lot of technology? In the future, the market can be different, the industry can...
Oh, yeah. I mean, how do you used to market your funeral home? You took out a big ad in the yellow pages, I mean, of course, now just about every funeral home uses Facebook as a marketing strategy. Any good funeral home should have Facebook as a marketing strategy.
For sure.
An avenue. We still do a lot of radio ad, those kind of things that are still older, but technology-wise within the funeral home, things that we used to print, used to have to send off to get print memorial folders, prayer cards, those kind of things that we couldn't do in-house with technology, with computers and high-end printers and those kind of things. We do all that stuff in-house now. We live stream funerals. We didn't used to be able to do that. So, I mean, there's a lot of
Were you live streaming funerals before COVID?
I was not. I was an anti-live streamer. I was an old soul. Like, if you can't be at a funeral, well, then I guess it's too bad to me. It was always kind of a private thing. Yeah, a funeral should be a personal thing. And COVID forced us to start live streaming it. We still live stream. We don't do a ton anymore just because people have kind of gotten back into coming to funerals. Even after got the ability to have funerals again and have more people at them, we were still live streaming because you had a lot of people that just weren't comfortable going out in the community yet.
Yeah.
So I would like to know how live streaming will work. Do you have a camera close to the person's
we
face?
use an iPad.
Okay.
And mostly it's just to be on the minister or whoever the clergy person is doing the service.
Okay. So during the COVID, you couldn't have anybody in the funeral, or you guys would still allow people?
10 was
10?
our 10 was our limit. Yeah.
Man, that's tough.
Yeah, it was
Now that
very
I'm
tough.
thinking.
Yeah.
Yeah, stuff for the families.
Yes.
Absolutely,
You
yeah.
couldn't make it.
And
Yeah,
during this
and
time-
I was 10 for a while. You couldn't, we do we have a strong Catholic
Yes.
contingent that we provide services for, and we couldn't even have a funeral mass for them. And if you're Catholic, that's a very important part of it's one of the rights
Yeah.
you can get as a Catholic, and it was very important for a lot of Catholics to have a funeral mass. We couldn't even have those because the churches were shut down. They didn't allow anybody in the church.
That's crazy.
So yeah, we were trying to find ways around it. I mean, for a while we were actually like doing closed circuit. We had the priest at church closed circuit with a camera phone, with a smartphone, live streaming himself doing a funeral mass, us at the funeral home with 10 family members, and then they would watch the priest on TV do a funeral mass. So they'd be at the funeral home, the priest would be doing the mass at church, and then after that, then everybody would get in their cars and we would meet at the cemetery. So we were trying to find ways to make it so people could still have a funeral mass. It wasn't quite the same, but we made it work.
Made it work for sure.
Yeah.
So how did we go from you and now it's like a family business, you and your wife, Trisha.
Yes.
How did Trisha come into I'm surely not only your relationship and your life, but then into the business? What was she doing? Where I'm sure she wasn't like, when I grow up, I am going to work for a funeral director.
No, that was not. She actually went to college for accounting.
Okay.
So it's the ultimate love story here that I'm about to share with you. I'll give you the Cliff Notes version of it real quick.
No, give it all to us.
We don't have that much time. So she went to college and she got her accounting degree. She lived up in the Quad Cities. She was looking for a job, and back then you looked in the newspaper for a job, and she saw, hey, this guy, he had some apartment buildings, and he was kind of looking for an office manager accountant. He also owned a funeral home. That's where the office was. So mostly she just was kind of working out of the funeral home, doing a little bit of funeral stuff, just helping with the book side. And kind of as time went on, the gentleman that owned the funeral home was like, I think it wouldn't be a bad idea if you went to mortuary school. It would be helpful around here. You could sign paperwork. You could meet with the family in a pinch. You could do these kind of things. So Carl Sandburg College in Galesburg has a mortuary science program. Mm-hmm. So he's like, you know what, why don't you go there? So she went part-time to school there and still worked. Part of going to mortuary school is you have to serve an 8-week, what they call a practicum. So basically, you get some hands-on training, if you will. And at that time, the schools were placing the students in funeral homes. And my now wife, Trisha, got placed into our funeral home. So I was working there along with...
It's a real love story.
It's what I said. It's a real love story. It's destiny. So yeah. I mean, I didn't know her. She lived in the Quad Cities. I lived here. Like, our paths had never crossed. And she came in. I remember the first time I saw her, like, wow, I need to ask this girl out. And she was single. So it worked out well. And I think the feeling was kind of mutual. Now, I wasn't her tried and true practicum preceptor like my boss was. But I was the one that did most of the embalmings with her and those kind of things. And we just kind of grew close pretty quick, and voila.
And so how long have you been married?
So 22 years.
Okay, so you've been doing a funeral for 28.
Yeah.
So there's that 6-year getting experience, and then you run into that.
So she comes in, and we got close. We started dating, even though we weren't supposed to. While she was still my student, even though she wasn't technically my student.
Right.
While she was still there, we started dating, and we never quit dating.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
In 26 years, you got 2 amazing young boys.
Yes.
Young men now.
Yeah, one's 21, and the other's 16. So yeah.
Yeah.
Do they want to go into the industry as well?
The oldest one definitely does not. No, he doesn't.
Why do you say definitely does not?
He doesn't
he
like
already
the
made
whole.
it clear for you.
He doesn't like the dead bodies part. Like,
Yeah.
I don't think a lot of people do.
no, he'd be great at the front side stuff, like dealing with families. He's great with people, but like he has to help me once in a while and does not like it.
Yeah.
I don't
Just
blame
through
him.
the years, he's like, you know, he tells his friends, I remember the first time I had to go with Dad on a removal, and I had to touch somebody, and he was like, oh.
Yeah.
I'm like, whatever, just grab, you know.
How old
Again,
was
I've been
he,
doing
though?
it for so long.
How
old
old was
was he? He's probably 16, 15,
Yeah.
16.
At 16,
Dude, I needed help. So, you know,
Come
like,
on,
come on.
kid.
It's like, it's a family. Hey, they don't call it a family business for nothing.
Right.
So, anyway, after Trish and I got married, she stayed an accountant by trade and actually went to work as a controller for RFMS. Actually, she started working at Cottage Home Options, and they closed. She went to RFMS, worked there for many years. Our ultimate goal after we bought the funeral home was someday she would leave her full-time, high-stress job, come to work at the funeral home and be our office person, you know, do the books and, you know, do some of the accounting stuff, and just kind of some of the daily operation side, so it would free me up. So she ended up coming on. We lose track now. I don't know, 8 years ago, something like that. I think it's been 8 years now.
It's got to be more than that. I've been at the radio for 10.
Well, she's been there. Maybe it's Well, we've owned it for 13. I was thinking it was.
Maybe it is 8 years or something.
I think it is 8 years that she's been there full time. Because I think the first 3 or 4 years, I know she wasn't there. So I lose. Yeah, I think it's 8 years.
Gotcha.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. So she's been on there full. Originally, she came on to be part time, to be, you know, an at-home mom and be able to take the kids and run them around to their sports and those kind of things. And then just as our business has grown, it's, you know, unfortunate and fortunate that her part-time gig has turned into a full-time operation.
Sure.
Now. So yeah, that's our love story.
One thing I will say, I love me some Trisha.
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
You know, I get to come in and spend some time with you guys.
Yeah.
So, you know, 5-6 times a year, whatever. But man, when I get stuck, when I get the opportunity to sit down and talk, I mean, like an hour flies by like that. And I'm like, man, Trisha, I got to go, man. Yeah. I mean, we got work to do. One thing I love about her, and this is just from my observation, but I think we all as men, we want a woman who's going to make us better.
Oh God, yeah.
And who will like hold our feet to the fire when we need it,
Yeah.
not necessarily when we want it, but when we need it. And I see that's what you got. You got a woman like that in you. I already know.
I got burn scars on the bottom of my feet. She's had to hold me to the fire for 22 years.
Yeah, but no, I'm telling you, man,
man.
that's one thing I respect about what I see and you guys not only working together, but husband and wife, man. You got like a
I think
soldier next to you.
I say it, you know, some people might think I say it in jest, but yeah, truly, like, we wouldn't be where we're at without her.
Mm-hmm. Right.
I've always kind of been the good time Charlie guy, and she kind of pulls my reins in once in a while and reminds me that, like, hey, you're not in your 20s anymore, dude. You're like pushing 50. Maybe it's time to like not be good time Charlie anymore.
Yeah,
so
that's what I mean.
Yeah. So no. She's.
And not in a buzzkill way.
Oh God, no.
But just in a way like, hey,
buzzkill.
enough.
That's your job, line buzzkill.
So that's the most BS nickname.
It is the most BS nickname.
So Mark, tell me what makes a funeral home be better than the other one?
The people in it.
Service?
Yeah. We all sell the same product.
Yeah. Do you sell caskets too?
We all sell caskets. We all have hearses.
Yeah.
It's the people in it. It's the people that operate it. It's, you know, I just finished kind of watching one of your podcasts. I just finished watching the Steve Glasgow one.
Yes.
And I'm pissed that I didn't get in before him, because I kind of live by the same principle, and I'm going to kind of sound like a follower, you know, the 1% better. We'll get into that in a minute. But, you know, he's talking about, no, we don't, you know, like, man, I'd like to be able to charge what you charge, or, man, you know, man, you guys have grown your business great, man. Your competition must be bad in town. I'm like, no, my competition, if you will, are friends of mine across town, and they provide great service too. Yeah. But if it's just, are you willing to make those sacrifices of, you know, I see so many new funeral home owners that all of a sudden they buy a funeral home, they own the Cadillac, they're taking 14, 10-week vacations a year, and they're never there. Well, I've made it. I don't have to be there anymore. Man, buying it is just literally the start. Like, I always kind of say, like, I think anytime you run any business, or someday when this podcast is nationwide and you guys are making millions of dollars, like, man, these guys are overnight successes, man. How long have you been grinding and doing this kind of stuff to get there? It's like, of course you're an overnight success because nobody'd heard of you for the first 20 years. And then you pop on the scene and you're successful. And it goes for the same for funeral homes. I mean, typically the more successful ones are the ones that have the people that are dedicated to their families. I mean, it's totally not like you can hop on the internet, you can go to Costco and buy a casket. Like, you don't need us for that. Yeah. But we can give you something that nobody else can. And in 28 years of providing funerals, this is definitely one of those jobs, as I think really any job is when you get right down to it. It's the showing up every day, the grind is what teaches you to be better at what you do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Someday you guys are going to look back watch your very first podcast, and you're like, what a bunch of buffoons we were,
Oh, you saw that one?
Yeah. Well, no, I know you.
We already feel like
that. But no, I know what you mean.
It's just, and again, damn it, Steve Glasgow, the journey of 1,000 miles starts with the first step. He said that too, and I'm like,
but all that stuff.
I should have been here before him if I hadn't canceled 4 times.
Yeah, you were on the books before.
No, I was the second week because you wanted me to come right after Jordan.
Yeah. But no, you're right, man. It's like everyone does. They see that like where you're at now.
Yeah.
And it's real quick and easy to be like, man, dude's killing it. Or dude's lucky. That's when I hear all this. Man, Lauren, you're so lucky.
That's my favorite. Man, you're so lucky. So lucky to be you.
I always just say I'm dumb enough to believe it was going to work. That was the only difference between us. Like I make that lightly, but I was just dumb enough to believe that if I do this will pay off
for sure.
And whatever.
What's the worst thing going to happen if I try it? It ain't going to work. Try something else.
I saw a really cool thing. It talked about. I wish I could give credit to where it's due, but the person was talking about X amount of % of people fail. Like when they go out and get a job, like say I come work for you and I fail and I didn't want to work for a funeral home, but I failed. So if 70% of people fail at some BS job they go to, why wouldn't you just go and try to do whatever you're going to do if you got a 70+% failure?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
We just go ahead and skip doing the one that you don't want to do and go swing.
Right.
Make a swing for the fence on whatever it is out there that you want to do. I mean, if the odds are pretty high that you're going to fail in almost anything you do,
right?
Just go try is something that you're like really into.
Yeah, probably one of my, I like to follow entrepreneurs and businesses and those kind of things. I think is in a strange way, it's kind of I like to kind of think of myself as an entrepreneur, even though I bought. A successful business. We've really changed how we do things.
Yeah,
so
you're absolutely
but restaurants and bars, like the highest fail rate of any business out there is a restaurant. 90% of them fail within like the first 2 years.
It's something crazy like that.
Every day you turn around, somebody's opening up a new restaurant. Well, a lot of them aren't going to make it, but how are you ever going to know if you don't give it a shot?
Yes.
Right? And that's, and I've instilled that into my children, and we just I encourage anybody, like if you have a dream, man, go aim for it, go hit it. It's the old, if you aim at nothing, you'll hit it every single time.
Right.
Mm-hmm. If I'm not aiming for anything, I'll hit it. And next thing you know, you're my age and you're like, oh, I'll just bottle through my 20s. Well, then you have kids and your 30s roll through and next thing you know, you wake up, you're 50, your kids are grown and you're in some crap job. Mm-hmm. Like I only meant to do that for a couple of years and you never fulfilled anything that you wanted in your life. And I want as many people to get to the end of their life and not been it. Like I encourage everybody I can. People like, oh, don't tell, you don't want to go in funeral service, it's terrible. And it's not what it was 30 years ago, but when I got into funeral service, there were old guys going, "Oh, don't go into this job. It's terror." You know,
it's a dying breed.
Yeah, it's a dying business. I've never heard that one before.
I saved that all day for that, man.
That's good. I hadn't heard that one. Appreciate that one. I'll keep that one in my pocket. You know, so it's like, I don't care what it is. Like,
For real.
And the world now is like, if you don't take your opportunity to do whatever it is you want to do, like, you have nobody to blame but yourself. Because with technology, you know, I mean, you didn't used to get to be a radio show host unless you worked your way through all of these channels. Now you can be like, hell, I want to start a podcast.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Some make it, some don't. But how do you know?
Right.
For sure.
Well, and that's it. I mean, me and Victor, we chewed on this and spit ideas, kicked names around. I mean, what do you do? And I don't even know if it's working, but I mean, we're having fun.
Dude, I love the episodes. Now, fortunately, they've all been a lot of people I know, and, you know, but for me, it's been good because I have gotten an opportunity to know people I know and know them better.
Yeah.
That's what's cool.
And that's the main purpose of it. We didn't really do the podcast for us. We did to give the opportunity to people to come here, tell good stories, and for the area, for the community.
Well, that's what, you know, Laura and I were kind of talking about it because I kind of have a dream to start a podcast real similar to this, just, you know, maybe even a little bit different rather than, you know, I really feel someday you guys will end up that where the waitress that just helped us at lunch, I don't know her, but man, I would like to know what her story is. And again, damn it, Steve, he talked about it too. He talked about Hank or whatever the hell the guy's name was, the janitor, the security guard where he went to law school. Like, you know, that's a big thing of mine. Like, I don't really care to meet the super famous people. Like, I want to know, like, my hotel clerk story. You know, I want to know, like, how did you end up here? Is this where you want to be? Like, you know, that's the kind of stuff that I want to know about people. And again, and they're the ones that really make the world go round. And I've always been and that's because I basically grew up in a blue collar family that, you know, we're no better than the guy sitting next to me. And, you know, we've instilled that in our kids. And, like, I want to know what the janitor's name is. I want to know, because if I have something go wrong, I can yell, "Hey, Joe, can you help me real quick?" Well, Joe's going to be running down the hall to help me, you know, versus somebody else. So, you know, it's always been, you know, the biggest or the littlest of people are all equal to me. So,
for sure.
No, that's the truth. I say all the time, I'm very blessed. I grew up in a split family. Right. So, you know, I have my biological father, who is an absolute working, grinding machine, was over-the-road trucker, farmer. I mean, the minute he was home from being over-the-road trucker, there's so much stuff to do at home from being gone all week. Like, I'm like, man, the dude, you know, it was a challenge to get him to even throw a ball back and forth for 10 minutes.
Right.
Like, we got stuff to do. Right. You know? And then I have another amazing stepdad, amazing guy in my life who, you know, he was in the banking field, wore a suit and tie. Right. A little bit older too, so grew up in different generations. And man, I'm like, God, I got the best of both worlds. You know, I got to go experience this and then go back to this and go back to that. It was like, I thought it was maybe growing up wasn't the most ideal, you know, like, I mean, no, I don't think anyone was like, man, I hope I grow up in a split family.
Right. Yeah, I don't think that's in the kids'
But,
goal
you know,
or dream.
it happened. And I think growing up, I wasn't very happy about it. But, God, I look at the opportunity that it provided for me today. And, I mean, I wouldn't change a thing. I really wouldn't.
Sometimes you get to fly to Florida and redo landscaping, right?
Yeah. I mean, you know, there's plenty of opportunity around here. So, but no, it's good. It's something that, you know what, like, life is what you make it,
Heck
right?
yeah.
I could have buckled at any point and just said, screw this. Yeah. And we all could have. Yes. But, you know, you just like, I go back to, I just was too dumb to know any different.
Yeah, me too. I was just too dumb to fail. Like, I was never born, like, I was never, failing was never really a mindset that we were taught. Like, that was never, failure is not an option. You know, the first couple of years we owned the funeral home, I'm glad that my wife didn't work there because, you know, I was literally like hoping people lost their change in the couch cushions when they came for visitations, you know. I mean, you know, when you first start a business or buy a business and running it, you know, times are pretty lean.
Yeah.
You know, by looking at my belly now, I apparently eat well. So
You're doing
compared to
okay.
back then.
But you know what? All that stuff is character building.
Heck yeah.
I mean, if it was easy, you wouldn't have been able to appreciate, and not only that, but instill into your children that, I mean, gosh, this isn't going to be handed to you.
Nope.
And your kids are athletes.
Yeah.
So I mean, they see in that environment too.
Absolutely.
You're going to get out what you put in.
Yep.
So what actions did you take that made you be different compared to back then and now? What made you grow in your funeral home?
Hard work and determination, and just I knew almost from the day I set foot in a funeral home and got my first paycheck that I wanted to run my own funeral home someday. Like I had a way of that I felt, even though I was young, like I just knew how I always felt people deserved to be treated, regardless of economic status or anything. Just it doesn't situation, whether it was, you know, what the person's life was like leading up to their death. Like I wasn't put there to judge these people, and I worked around funeral directors that were like, oh, he was just a blah blah blah, like who cares, or this family's blah blah, whatever it is, you know, like, oh, they weren't important enough. Like I worked, you know, I've been around the funeral directors of like, oh, where did they die at? Oh, I'll go out on that house call because it's a good neighborhood. Like, you know, they only wanted to be present to the important people, or what they envisioned as important people. But those aren't the ones that take care of us. It's the ones that you take care of, you know, because the high end, you know, some of these people just no matter what, you can't do anything right, but you treat good people well, and you know, everybody's good somewhere along the way. And yeah, that was just my mindset, that I could take all of these good things I learned from these funeral directors and the things I didn't like from all these different people I worked with for the first, you know, several years I was in this business. I could take everything that I liked, wash out what I didn't like, along with my own new ideas, how I knew I would want to be treated, the old golden rule, you know, treat others how you would want to be treated, and make my own business plan and make our own model of how we're going to operate a funeral home. You know, it works. It works for some people. It doesn't work for other people. Well, people that call us, we like, you know, one of the things that, you know, the daily phone call you get is, how much is a direct cremation? That's just the cheapest way to dispose of a body after somebody dies. And we'll tell them our price, and they'll be like, well, I can get it done over here for that price. And I'll be like, well, go over there.
I mean, if that's what you're at, and not in a disrespectful way, right? But like, if that's what you're after, if you're after
that's
price,
not I just tell people that's not our business model. We are a full service funeral home. You're going to get my full service attention to detail, attention to you, whether you choose a high end funeral, an expensive casket, an expensive vault, or you choose for whatever reason, whether it's financial or just what they wanted, the lowest cost that there is. That's our business model. These other places, that's not their business model. So it all just depends on how you want to operate. We want to operate on the highest level of standard of care, period.
Yeah, you were talking about
again,
service.
Steve Glasgow, he was talking about that too. See, dude stole everything except he's a badass, and he fights people and not me.
Yeah. Did you leave your notes somewhere and Steve grabbed them?
Yeah, I think I did. I must have left them in my car, and I think Steve stole them from me.
That's what we're getting at?
Yeah.
No, Steve was a good episode. He was a lot of fun.
Oh, man, he was a lot of fun. I'm like, I wish I was as badass as he is. Like, yeah, I'll get in the ring and kick your ass Wednesday and Saturday. Like,
but I can't fight till 6 because I got to work. You know,
I'll meet you at the bar and drink a beer with you, but like, I don't. You know, I have no desire to get in the ring and beat the shit, or get the shit beat out of me.
I would like to try it one time. I want to know, you know, like the fight in the octagon.
Fighting Steve or fighting?
No, like us two going at each other, like two people that have no idea what the hell they're doing. No, Steve would kill me in about a millisecond.
But you know, like when that cage, I was kind of asking Steve about it, but when that cage door closes, it's just you now.
Yeah, it's like I don't want to die.
And
so
you have to have this feel of like, you know, like the Gladiator, or I mean, you better have that feeling, I assume.
Yes,
But so I don't know. I mean, that, like, I went skydiving once. That's the closest I got to just feeling like no control. Yeah. Like, you jump out of an airplane and you're just falling.
Yeah.
That's something I would never do.
Oh, so I would do it again right now.
Yeah, I would go do it.
Was so
but my
dope.
wife says I need to stay planted firmly on the ground for now.
It was so amazing.
I've been bungee jumping. That's about as close as I've been to skydiving. But I think that might be more scary.
Yes, it is.
Because everything on the ground is still, you can still see what it is.
Well, the skydiving...
You know, an airplane, everything is little. You don't really know what you're jumping out of.
Skydiving, for me, my experience is I did the tandem jump.
Yep.
So you don't even have a parachute.
Right.
You're buckled at the little carabiners at the to the hip and the shoulders to the guy who's got the parachute.
Right.
You know, so you jump out, you're falling, and it was absolutely incredible. I mean, there's not even time to think. You're just like, whoa, you know, and that's about all you can do. The parachute opens, and then that's where you have all the time to think. And you're like,
it goes completely quiet,
6,000 to 8,000 feet in the air, and you're just sitting there. And then you're like, I don't have a parachute. You know, like, I'm dude's got the parachute, you know.
I'd rather be strapped facing him so I can hold on to him.
Right. There's nothing to hug. The minute these things go, you're gone. Yeah. That's funny. Can we flip around?
I just want to be able to hold you in case my straps break.
So I did, when I went, I was living in Arizona at the time. I actually went on my birthday. I couldn't get any friends or anyone to go with me. So I went by myself out in the middle of this desert. And it's like a hole in the wall airport, you know, like just has a little hangar and you're in the middle of the desert. And I went with this guy and there's like really no instruction, you know, you get in the plane and the plane is gutted. I'm like, we're going to have to jump out of this thing. Like it is not good. This is not a good plane.
Land.
Yeah. So, but we go up and, you know, you basically open up that door. I remember when the plane took off, that's when I was like, it's real now. Because what am I going to get 12,000 feet in the air and be like, go back down. I don't want to, you know,
There's only one way back down, boy.
Yeah. So that was when the plane took off. That's when I remember like my kind of heart started going. I'm like, oh, this is it, man. This is it. Then they put the door open, right? And then it's like the wind and it's, you know, they have like a little step. And so to put a step out, and then you just do the old 1, 2, and on 3 you just roll out.
I'm picturing like this Looney Tunes moment with you and Wile E. Coyote jumping out of an airplane.
Well, I paid. I have it on VHS.
Did you in Chicago?
No, I just did
Arizona.
In the desert.
Oh, in the middle of the
He was
desert.
napping because you were talking.
Yeah, he's like, anytime Lauren talks, he just tunes me out. But no, it was in the Arizona.
Because I know there's one in Chicago.
Yes. Yeah, they do.
Yeah.
But anyway, so I paid $60 extra to have this guy. No, for this guy to record. He had the helmet cam, so he climbs out first. He's like hanging on the wing, like you know,
on the wing.
Yeah, and he's got this camera on his head, you know, and so like, and as soon as we fall, he lets go. I mean, he's falling, he's going back, he's coming in close. Like it's all on VHS,
yeah, that's
but.
Cool. Can't watch it anymore
because I don't have a VCR, but I paid $60 to be able to watch that a couple times. But I would go again. It's an absolute blast. And to me, I don't even know how we got on this tangent, but
that's why I love this show.
There is no control.
We just randomly end up weird places.
When you're skydiving, you have no control over what is going to happen. Really, you know, that's what I found so interesting about it. Oh, I know how we got on. I was talking about the experience, the rush. Of being able to fight, like where you've been training for this. Let's see what you got, buddy. You know, and I can only imagine how rewarding that is when you come out with a W, but also damn how defeating that could be too. I
think that's why these guys want to get back in the ring so bad after they get defeated. Because they have the championship mentality. They're like, I'm better than that.
I put out a bad performance.
I put out a bad performance. And it's not necessarily that I'm better than that guy. I am better than that.
Yes.
And, you know, and that's kind of how, you know, we all screw up. I've screwed up stuff at a funeral before or whatever. And it's like, you know, it makes me mad because I know I'm better than that, or whatever, life, parenting, whatever it is. Like, I know I'm better than that failure, and I think, you know, from that fighter ring standpoint, I think that's how they get there.
That's the greatest thing about sports. You lose today, and you always have the next opportunity to show different.
Absolutely.
And then if you lose again, you have another opportunity, and you keep going.
And if you don't, take 2 weeks off and quit. Yeah. That's a good solid on Mike Reynolds throwback from when he was the coach here.
That's funny.
I would tell this player to take 2 weeks off and quit.
So speaking of mess ups, have you ever, like in the funeral biz, have you ever got somebody like all doctored up and they come in and they're like, Mark, like, what the hell did you do with Aunt Jeannie here?
Not like that bad, but, you know, we've had people go like, oh, that doesn't look like them. All right, tell me what you want me to tweak, and we'll tweak it, and boom, we'll tweak it, make it better, and make them happy. So
never, you haven't had one, though, that is just like, dude, this is brutal.
Like,
What'd you get?
Yeah, this is the wrong person.
You run out of crayons here or what, Mark?
No, I've never had that.
Well, that's good, because I'm sure people
I've been
have.
blessed with, I feel like, the talent, God-given talent to be able to do this job. And,
right.
And embalming has always been one of my strong suits.
Yeah.
I don't do it like I used to. It used to be my favorite thing to do, but...
So, and what do you think
change.
is the main purpose of a funeral home? Because there is the fact that the part that you sell casket, good customer service, but I think maybe the main thing is comforting the family, and maybe they would choose your funeral home because they felt like comfortable. And
so there's, and I can't, and I wish I could remember what the heck his name is right now. I've read his books. He's written a couple of books. He's a funeral director, and I can't remember what his name is. But it's a basic, you know, I think it sums it up the best. Our job is to get the dead. Gosh, how the heck is it? Get the dead where they need to go, and the living where they need to be. Something like that. Like,
that's cool.
I mean, you know, okay, yep, this person died. What's our job for him? Get him to the cemetery.
Yeah.
But what's our job for the living? Take them where they need to be to help them through that grief process.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think that kind of surmises what we do pretty well.
Do you think it's 50-50? You do half of the service for family that's there, and half of the first, or
100% of it's for the living.
Yeah, I was gonna say
100%.
You know
for
why?
The living. Okay.
Because dead people don't really care.
Yeah.
Now, if they have a religion, like Catholicism particularly, or other religions that I'm not as versed on, there is a funeral aspect of it to it for them is necessary, you know. But I don't think, as a Catholic, if God, you get to heaven or purgatory, and God's like, you didn't have a funeral mass, I'm not letting you into heaven. I don't think it's a finite one-time thing to get into heaven as a Catholic, or, you know, whatever your religion or your beliefs are, that, you know, if you believe in an afterlife or whatever it is, you know, I think it's not a one finite thing. So, but, you know, for somebody that's a strong faith Catholic, yes, they're dead. They don't really care. But in their living, it was important to them to have a funeral mass. So, yes, that's important from the religious standpoint.
Yeah. Okay.
But, yeah, funerals are for the living. The dead don't care. You know, I mean, it's, you know, it's a real simple process. They just really don't care.
One other thing we'll talk about. This is kind of weird some people out, but my parents both did it. And that is the pre-planning or planning of a funeral, right?
Yes.
Like, that's becoming kind of more and more popular.
Because we talk about, you know, it's like a lot of things. It's like, I think sometimes pre-planning your funeral, it's not the same, but liken it to anything that we talk about, like, we'll take mental health for an example. Like, people didn't used to really talk about funerals or why should you plan a funeral? Again, you're dead, you don't care, but you have children. Someday they'll be adult children. Like, they may not know what you want. The only way to really get how you want, you know, we'll go back to the religious aspect of it. I don't care what your religion is or what your beliefs are, but if you have these XYZ beliefs of how you want stuff done when you die, truly the only way that's going to happen is talk to somebody about it. And who's the best guy to talk about it other than the funeral professional? Because we have the most experience in it. Mm-hmm. You know, if I want to get my car fixed, I don't just, you know, if I got a big dent in my car, I don't just YouTube it and think, oh, that's good enough. You know, I want to go to a professional.
Right.
So, you know, the best bet for that is go to the professional.
For sure.
And talk about it.
Would you be open to burying me in a whole box of Cheez-Its?
Yes, I would be.
You would do that?
Well, you only get half a box. I'm keeping the other half.
You're going to eat the other half?
Because, as we discussed, you can't beat a good box of Cheez-Its and a good glass of whiskey.
No. Yeah.
If it wasn't the middle of the day, we'd be plopping a glass of whiskey on this table today.
We would have tried them.
Yeah.
So maybe next time.
Maybe next time we'll do an evening cast.
I had to sneak Cheez-Its into this episode somewhere, as much crap as you give me.
I love Cheez-Its.
I
They
do
are
too.
America's snack.
We're
trying to get Cheez-Its to help sponsor you guys.
Someday Cheez-Its will sponsor the show.
We'll have a big plate, big bowl of them.
That would be awesome.
In the box here.
And maybe a small white cheddar one for the people that
are weird like me. I love white cheddar.
See, I like them.
Yeah.
But they're not better than the original.
I didn't say that.
I know. I just want to make sure we're clear.
Okay.
Cheez-Its sponsor us.
Yes, please.
Well, Mark, man, I appreciate you coming and doing this with us.
We ran out of time. Gosh, I had about a million more things to talk about.
Well, go. We're not done. Let's keep talking.
Yeah, no, it's fine.
I don't have anywhere to go.
All right, me either. I don't know. Work's been texting me, but that's okay. It's whatever. It's I kind of, again, going back to the it's one of the things that I'm kind of really trying to start working on with myself. It's I've kind of come into this like self-improvement phase of life. Like I'm pushing 50. The kids, it's like kind of like the what now. It's like, how do I become a better person? And again, going back to Steve Glad, the 1% thing, he kind of was initially more focused on make yourself 1% better. And part of this comes off of, there's I think it's called like the 1% prayer or something like that. So basically it's like take 1% of your day, which is like 14 minutes and 24 seconds, something like that. So let's round it up to 15 minutes. So, and just pray. Take 15 minutes out of your day, 1% of your day, and pray. And I'm like, what if, like, okay, that's only going to fit a faction of people that are religious. Like, so I thought, how do we, like, take the concept of that and develop it beyond it? So I've kind of, and we're still tossing around, like, what this is ultimately going to look like. I say we as in, like, me, myself, and I, because my wife is always like, I'm a schemer, I'm a dreamer, I kind of always have some great new idea, but that's just my mindset. Like, no matter where I'm at, like, I feel like I'm a very solid funeral director and run a good business, but like, that's not my end game. Like, I don't know what it is, but so I've come up with basically this 1% thing. And I kind of had initially coined it like the one for all, coming in the 1% and for all of the people. So I just kind of factored in, if you take 1% of your day, 15 minutes of your day, and make sure that it's not all in one stretch. So you're kind of just continually doing it throughout your day. Yeah. Just be a better human. We get to be anything we want to be in life. We get to choose how we react. What do we do? Like, be nice, be kind, just be better. Like, I'm not an all-in. I can't just go to bed and wake up and be a great human tomorrow, but I can be a little bit better tomorrow than I was today.
For sure.
How does that entail? Somebody says, well, I can't give money. I don't have any money. Okay, smile, say hi to somebody. Again, Taco Bell. Say it again. I think Steve did break into my car and get my notes. So it's my mindset is just talk to the regular people. Hold the door open for somebody. Like, if somebody cuts you off in traffic or we get to choose how, there's only two things we can control: how something makes us feel and how we react to it. Yeah. I can't control any other variable hardly in life. Like, if somebody cuts me off in traffic, I can yell and cuss at them and flip them the bird and do all these other things. Or I can just be like, I have no idea what's going on in their life. Maybe they just found out, their wife got in a car accident and they're rushing to, like, I don't have any idea.
Right.
Like, so just be more kind. So it's like, it's kind of an initiative thing that I'm going to, over the course of time, start developing and getting out there and, like, just encouraging people. Just be cognizant of what you're doing. I said it earlier. If you aim at nothing, you'll hit it every single time. Like, you can't hit a goal. Like, if you were out playing golf, we like to play golf. I'm trying to get to that hole down there. If I didn't know the hole was over there, I wouldn't know where to hit the golf ball. Like, I'd be like, yeah, I hit that shot right where it's supposed to go, because I don't really know where I was aiming. So that must be where it was supposed to go. And you never find your goal. And so I'm really just working on trying to kind of, and I think I need to get with Steve, and maybe we can kind of help grow some of this, and just, be kind and be nice. And, I just bought this T-shirt. Front of it says "Be kind." The back of it says "Be kind. Everybody's fighting a battle you know nothing about." It's the old saying, like, don't judge somebody until you walk a mile in their shoes. Like, I don't know what somebody's going on. Yes, I have expectations when I go to McDonald's and I order my cheeseburger without pickles to get it without pickles. Like, in my brain, that shouldn't be that difficult to get done, right? Mm-hmm. I don't know what happened to that guy inside. Maybe he just lost his house, or maybe he's got a terrible boss that's yelling at him. Like, I don't really know why he screwed my order up.
Right.
Maybe he does just suck. I don't know, but there's a reason why. He didn't just suck overnight. It's because of a long term of, maybe it was childhood abuse. Like, I don't know. So my goal now going forward for the rest of my life is just to stop being so judgmental and just be nice to people. Mm-hmm. Like, how much better of it would it be if we were all nice? So I did some simple math. I took Galesburg because that's where I live, so obviously my main focus is always Galesburg. Let's call roughly 30,000 people in Galesburg. And let's take out 20% of those for infants or infirmed, old people or whatever that just can't do it because of physical disabilities or whatever. Because that's 6,000 people, let's just call it. So that gets us down to 24,000 people. If 10% of our community, 2,400 people, over the course of the next year gave 1% of their day, just literally by being nice to people, cost you nothing other than maybe a little bit of time. Number one, you're going to feel better about yourself. And number two, that person's going to feel better. Mm-hmm. That 15 minutes or those 2,400 people equates to, in 1 year, if you did this by yourself, every single day of your life, never sleeping, for 25 years being kind. Mm-hmm. That's what it equates to.
Right. 15
minutes a day is all each one of us has to give. It equates to one person being kind 24 hours a day, 365 days a year for 25 years. Mm-hmm. In 1 year, our town could do basically what one person could do never stopping for 25 years. I mean, that's huge.
Yeah,
better
when
community.
you think about the amount of minutes over the course, like I don't remember the math. I just remember that finite in number. But the amount of minutes over the course of the year that we were kind to people, and what happens when you're kind? Mm-hmm. Other people decide, I'm going to try that.
Right. Mm-hmm. It's contagious.
It's contagious. So maybe next year, maybe we get a 10% growth from those 2,400. Now we got another 240 people. So now we got 26. It's the old math, the old compound interest kind of thing. If it's 1% every single year, like in 10 years, you've got, half of your town that's nice. Mm-hmm.
It's pretty
damn
powerful.
Simple.
Right.
Which makes
and it costs you nothing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So I saw some a couple weeks ago. I thought you were going to say these exact words, but they're right in line with it. But there's only two things we can control, and it's our attitude and our effort.
Yeah.
And that's what you said in
attitude, effort,
two,
actions. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's and it's so easy. And gosh, you got to fight it. Like, train yourself to not throw that judgmental
because
comment
we've been trained to be judgmental.
So check this out. It's from the book. You were talking about, it's called Think Like a Monk. And it's one of the best books I've read in my entire life. But it talked about this 3-step process. It's called spot, stop, and swap. So spot situations, identify times and situations that you normally might lose your cool. On children, on people, your neighbor, your friend, your family, whoever. Spot those situations that you normally blow up or act like something and then you're embarrassed or you hate it later. Stop that behavior and swap it with a new one, right?
Yep.
So it's spot. Oh, this is when I normally, my kids just did this. Yeah. This is normally right when I blow up.
Right.
Stop that reaction.
I like it.
Swap it with a new one. And before you know it, you start to see these changes. And then it becomes like human nature. Like it's in your DNA to start.
And then what happens with your kids when you do that to them?
Right.
When they have those avenues to where maybe they would have blown a gasket.
Exponentially growth.
It's exponential growth. And we've become such a culture focused on, Instagram and social media and those people aren't real. Like you guys, we're the real people, Yeah, they exist. Yeah, there's some out there that have made lots of money by being an Instagram influencer, but
Sure.
none of them are influencing good. Like, they're just being kind. Like, I want to become an Instagram, an influencer. Like, hey, look, I opened the door for this little old lady that could barely get through it. Or, or hey, you know what? I was standing in line today, and God's graced me with, more than enough financially to live, and I'm listening to the lady in front of me. She's bought all of her groceries. She's used her, extra funding that she's got, and she's still got food left. And I can see, like, she must have little kids at home. It'd be like, she's like, oh, let's start putting stuff back, and it's $45 more, and you can pull a 50 out and give it to her. I don't want any recognition. I don't even want you to know who I am. Like, why can't we be that world? Why can't we have those kind of Instagram influencers in our lives instead of the Kardashians or
those guys are out there. You just have to search really hard to find them
right.
because all the junk is what surfaces to the top.
Well, I mean, it's all about likes and all these other things that I don't understand. We were talking about it with YouTube. Once you get to 4,000 hours viewed, you move up in some sort of magical Instagram fake non-existent world, right?
Right. It's real.
Like, how do you get there? But most people that do those things are very humble. They don't want people to know. So, again, I have a dream of somehow creating this channel on Instagram because it's quick, it's a picture related, and we're we all know we're physical. We see visual, well with our eyes, visual. And thank you. I couldn't come up with that. See with your eyes. That's the best word I could. Take a short word, make it long. Squirrel. Yeah. My wife says I have a really bad problem with that. Anyway, back on focus. Why not make something like that we can grow into, how to make the world better? And your snippets do that. Your little shorts on here, really do that. You'll pull a little bit of the good content out there, and why can't we push that over the the negative that's out there?
It'll eventually work, but it's going to take changes in behavior too. Like everyone, I'd say all the time, we could have a story that says man punched outside a grocery store, and we can have an article that says 12-year-old boy saves dog from drowning.
Right. Oh, that guy punched way more.
Man punched outside grocery store is going to get literally millions of more clicks than the boy who saved the dog. Absolutely. It won't even be close.
Yeah. No, one's above the. And in old terminology, when newspapers really existed, man punched is above the fold.
Yeah.
So when it's sitting there on the stands for sale, you're going man punched. Man punched by cops outside a grocery store. We don't even know what the story is leading up to it. Underneath it, they're like, boy jumps in raging river to save dog. That's that's under the folder, not even on the front page.
Page 4 or 5.
Yeah.
And I love watching someone get punched in the face. Don't get me wrong.
Right.
I love the UFC, MMA, me too, street fights. I mean, I love them.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's something that's happened, though, in our society at some point, somewhere along the way. But the reality is negativity does get more clicks.
And I think it's always been like that. When you see, news channel, it gets way more hits when it's something negative, not when something very bad happening. There's way more audience.
It's a cultural mindset, which is why I'm kind of trying to get this one for all. My ultimate goal is in the old Three Musketeers. I don't know. Do you even know what the Three Musketeers are? Okay. Well, they were the all for one for all. I flip-flopped it. So, my ultimate dream and goal.
I thought that was the Three Amigos.
Yeah.
I got the wrong guys.
Dusty Bottoms. He's not famous. He's infamous.
Wait,
he must be extra famous. That's the greatest movie ever. Martin
you sure
Short.
Isn't that the Three Stooges?
Who was that in the Three Amigos? Martin Short, Chevy Chase, and
Chevy Chase is one.
Dean,
I can picture his face.
Dean.
No,
that was his name. He was in Father of the Bride.
Look, someone right now is watching this going, "Are you kidding
Come
me?"
on. Anyway,
it's he's got white hair.
Yeah,
I can picture him. God, that's gonna drive me.
Anyway,
nuts.
me too. I'll text you later when I remember. I'll Google it when I leave. But where the hell was I?
Oh yeah, sorry. I said Three Amigos.
Yeah,
you were talking Three Musketeers.
Three Muscatines.
Yeah, Three Muscatines. That's a city in Iowa. Muscatine.
Yeah. In Portuguese, it's Três Mosqueteiros.
Tres Muscateiros.
Mosqueteiros.
Mashed
Let me help
potatoes.
you.
Mashed potatoes. Anyway, uh-oh.
3 mashed potatoes.
3 mashed potatoes. 3 mashed potatoes. All right, so the 3 mashed potatoes. That's what Lauren and I came up with.
Mosqueteiros.
Muskatatoes.
Yes.
Okay.
3 muskmelons. All right, so I changed mine, the one for all and all for one. So I went kind of like, I'm having some issues with getting this branded though. One for all, so one person does this stuff for all these other people. Eventually, my dream would be like this initiative grows to like it's tried and true, like real dream foundation. And then you add in the other part. Now this one for all, and all these ones have created this all portion. And then you get somebody that needs something. There's the financial abilities for the all to provide to the one. Mm-hmm. So it's like this whole big circle. Obviously, again, because it's a positive thing, it's going to take a while to grow.
Sure.
But it's kind of where I've been here lately, trying to figure all this out and have a dream of how this all works and make it all happen someday. But maybe someday when you guys are famous, I can come back and bring my initiative.
We'll do a follow-up.
Follow-up. So yeah.
No.
I figured I better throw it out here today. Otherwise, it's one of those things I would just dream about it and sit on forever and never actually do anything with it. So now that the world knows about it, I have to do something about it. Or at least 25 people know about it. I have to do something about
25 might be generous, man.
Well, after today, I know like 10 people. I'll get them to watch it. So there's
2
10.
of them are my parents.
Yeah, well, not counting them, 10 more. So we're at 12. Okay. 13, 14, 15.
I will watch for sure.
Yeah.
Certainly your other guests that have been on will watch it, maybe, hopefully. So there's 25, see?
Yeah. But no, man, we, like we said before, though, who cares? We're just here to have some fun.
Heck yeah.
And hopefully you've had fun joining us today.
I have, and, we know each other well enough that we both like to BS. We could sit here all afternoon.
Right.
For sure.
No. But I'm glad this finally did work out. I'm glad we kept at it. And finally, it did. It worked out where no one passed away that needed to take you.
Hey, I did have one question. How excited were you when you came here and you realized, hey, I'm left to, I'm used to Rio down in Brazil, and you're like, I literally live 10 minutes from Rio again, except these weird country folks call it Rio.
Yeah. Did you think we had a real Rio?
Yeah, no, I didn't.
Have you ever been?
I didn't even know how to say. I thought it was Rio here, but it's Rio.
It's Rio.
You can tell anybody that's not from here because they're like, oh, it's just up north of town by Rio. I'm like, where? I'm like, oh no, that's Rio.
Yeah. They call it Rio Day 150.
Yeah, Rio Day 150.
But it was different. When I got here, it was different to me.
And it snowed and you froze. Yeah, so.
Yeah, it's a small community, small town, but now I feel like I'm at home.
Good, yeah. Awesome.
It's awesome. I like the area.
Yeah, I love the whole other perspective that you kind of bring in. So yeah, it's good
for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
So yeah, thanks for having me today, guys. I appreciate it.
Appreciate it, folks. It's Mark Thomas, Watson Thomas Funeral Home and Crematory owner, but also all around good dude, great dad, good husband, good man. I appreciate you, Mark.
Hey, absolutely. Thank you, guys. I appreciate you having me.
All right,
thank
folks,
you very much.
Thanks again for your ongoing support of the Talk About It podcast. Look forward to getting another episode. We have a great guest coming up next week, so make sure you hit subscribe so you can get noticed every time we have a new guest.
And share it and tag Cheetos.
Cheez-Its.
Cheez-Its, not Cheetos. That was
Cheez-Its, sponsor us.
Cheez-Its, not the Cheetos.
All right.
This video
Thank you,
flagged.
Lauren Fulmer, Victor Dantas, and Mark Thomas.
See you next week.
Yep, have a good one. Thank you for watching this episode of the Talk About It podcast.
I'm Victor Dantas.
I'm Lauren Fulmer.
And we would encourage you guys to subscribe to the channel. And don't forget to hit the bell. It's going to be right below the video. So you
hit
guys,
the bell.
so you know when the next episode is up.
We appreciate all the support.
Thank you.